Hot topics that has everybody's talking about here is ESG. It's kind of bubbled up in the last year. In Idaho, you guys have been in the forefront of the fight. So tell me what you're seeing, what are you doing, and what should other states do?
Yeah, so here it is. I mean, I attended a few of the different committees that they had here and informational seminars here, and there was a bunch of people that wanted to come in and talk about what ESG is. And a lot of people don't know what ESG is. It's kind of a new concept. It stands for environmental, social, economical, and governmental. And, if you are familiar with what China has been doing over the past several years with social economic scores and people being given the ability to either travel or not travel, or to be able to have certain jobs or education based on what their social scoring is. That's the trajectory of where we're going with this. So right now it's kind of focusing more into the economic aspect of things. Banks and corporations and different businesses that are utilizing ESG scores to determine who they're doing business with or if they're financing certain individuals or certain companies. And so we're seeing that happening right now. And their environmental scores. So how environmentally friendly are they? We've had a lot of the treasurers because of utilizing funds through the states that they are able to put into different companies to start deciding if this is a company that they want to work with anymore, or if they want to diversify somewhere else, because the states are not agreeing with utilizing ESG as part of the functioning in using the state's money to fund things or to be able to what's the word I want to use, invest in different areas, and so it's changing.
Now, I was sitting in one of the programs with you yesterday, and it occurred to me that when this started, or as I remember it, it was protests against businesses that were doing business in South Africa. It was to support the end of apartheid. It was against businesses that were severely polluting water, things that we could all kind of get around. And you go, yeah, okay, we can stop apartheid. Stopping that is good. Clean water is good. But they've taken into the political spectrum.
Right, yeah. And so, and if it was really about being environmentally friendly or wanting to have less pollution, then we would see movement happening with China and with some of these other countries that have a huge, we all know that China is a huge pollutant, right? They pollute a lot. And yet nobody is going after them saying, we're not doing business with you anymore because of X, Y, and Z. So, but we're targeting states that, and companies that are utilizing ESG scores, but it's to actually make people fit within a certain spectrum and a certain agenda that they want to push. So it's not really about making things environmentally friendly. It's not really about making things better. It's about forcing businesses to do business in a certain way.
So in Idaho, I think it was BlackRock that would begin to give you. What were they looking for Idaho to do?
So right now, I haven't really heard where they're coming in and saying, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. It's just, we're using an ESG score now. And if you don't fit within these factors, some of the examples that have been given, I heard not too long ago that there was a company that their auto insurance called them that they use for all of their vehicles and said, we can no longer insure you because your ESG score doesn't fit within our parameters anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so, those are the types of things that we're seeing now, where companies are able to say, if your ESG score isn't correct, then we're not doing business with you anymore. We're not financing you anymore. We're not going to give you insurance anymore. And so that is going to create a domino effect with a lot of our companies. We've seen with the Second Amendment that there's been banking businesses that will not allow them to utilize their banking services anymore because they are a gun organization or a gun business. And so it's using businesses to drive an agenda and to be able to regulate and keep individuals and keep companies out of being able to do business based on an agenda.
Yeah. Now, I have heard that in the last couple of months, every time you turn on the television, you see a commercial. It's all same-sex couples. It's all all the commercials are very woke. And my understanding is because for woke commercials, you get ESG score. For a traditional family or traditional commercial with just a mom, a dad, and a couple of kids, you get 0 for.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's part of the social aspect of it. If you're not part of the new woke culture, then they're going to score you more negatively. If you're trying to do business with a company that is woke and you're not, then they're going to say, well, you're not woke enough for us and your ESG score isn't high enough, so we're not doing business with you anymore. And that can factor into so many different things, and it opens up a Pandora's box. I mean, where does that end? And who gets to determine, your ESG score?
Yeah.
And again, I see it moving more and more. I mean, now they're focusing on companies and businesses, but that will completely transition into individuals down the road, and we'll be right with China on how they're doing those scorings. And China, I mean, it was amazing when that information started coming out that people couldn't travel, they couldn't buy an airplane ticket, they couldn't, go to school, they couldn't do these different things because their social score was too low, their social credit score. So it's just a matter of time that it'll transition from businesses and companies into just individuals and their lives in general, if we don't get a grip on it now. And the only way that we can do that is money talks, and so we have to pull our money back from these corporations, these black rocks, these investment companies that are forcing ESG scores. And so we have to pull our investments back, diversify into something else that aligns more with our values and where we see it, and about really making money. I mean, if investments, that's what it's about. Investments are about making money. Social scores, environmental scores, all that sort of stuff should have no factor into trying to invest and make money in that way.
And this is something that your treasurer in Idaho is doing. Tell me a little bit about the actions that you're taking.
So our treasurer has jumped on board. I know through ALEC they've formed a task force. There's I believe 27 different treasurers throughout the different states that have gotten together, started working on the issues, on what's going on. Things are going to have to happen through legislation, through the treasurers being able. Every state's different on how they run their state, but the treasurers are going to have to take a proactive role in diversifying and investing the state's money into corporations that are aligning more with their beliefs and values and not this ESG stuff that's going on.
And then I understand, the investment companies they'll manage your pension, but then they hold on to all those proxies.
Yeah.
And then are using those proxies to put woke board members on these corporations. They've done it to Exxon.
Yeah. So they're stacking the votes basically, and so they get these people to fill in that are handling the proxies, and they're very selective on who they're going to have do that, and they want them to align with the whole ESG thing, and so then it forces those companies. So the shareholders are actually left out of the picture entirely. They're going with the stakeholders instead, and so that's really changing that dynamic. And so again, it has to go back to you have to pull your money back out. And so if they're not given the money to invest or to make decisions on, then it takes that power away from them.
Yeah, and so your all your pension money in Idaho or West Virginia that your citizens have set aside can then be used to work against them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that's what we're seeing. And so our treasurers are going to have to step up because that's their purview right there.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to step up and really just stand up and say, no, we're not doing this, and we're not going to allow it, and we're not going to work with you to be able to fight against us.
Well, thank you so much for everything you're doing. This is a fight that I think we're just now beginning to get into.
We are. Yeah, we're really just starting. There's a lot to it. It's a kind of a multi-level approach in the governmental factor, and if we're really into states' rights and dual federalism, then this is a very anti-federalism approach, and we don't want to go down this road. It'll have significant consequences.
Great. Well, thank you again. Thanks for everything.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.